July 27, 2026. Yep, almost through July. Everybody enjoying the heat out there? And the smoke? Idaho is on fire. Holy smokes. Our smoke in the valley here is so bad. It's probably the worst I've ever seen in my 40 plus years here, you know. So it's like, yeah. And they're saying a lot of these fires were started on purpose. Wonder why that is. Gee, are we at war or not? Yep, right. Diesel D's this month went by really fast. Say hello to everybody over here on Telegram. Wendy, Kathy Watson, Palindrome, Warhorse for Liberty. Talk about you in a minute. Prayer for Warrior, Diesel D's, D1, Dave O, and Ralph K. Good to see you all. Freedom Fighter, yep, you're hanging out in there. Regina, I see you over there. Let's see. Let's go to the live. Karen, Jacqueline, Mark, and Wendy, you're over there. Thank you for the 5x5 over there. Right, Mark? I've been struggling with a little bit sore throat and headache and runny, snotty nose from this smoke crap. I've been trying to work in the garage, stay in the garage or in the house, but some stuff just got to be done outside. This morning was really bad smoke. Horrible. I mean, so freaking thick in the street. It's like even just like you could see the smoke in the street. Diesel for We the People, something over there. From Texas, good to see you. Quantum Kid, good to see you. Is the IMF still in business holding the United States Trust Inc.? I don't think so. Yeah, it smells and tastes like smoke. Yes, it's pretty much it's all grass fire. It's taken some residential property. Man, the closest fire we have right now to me literally is about 20 miles out southeast here. Had to close down the roads out there. Let's see if I can find something to show you a map. I mean, I saw one earlier this morning and I'm like, what the heck? I thought it was just a couple of fires. Whoops. Okay, here you go. Let me show you this. It said you could click on this arrow to make it bigger. Yeah, anyways. So I'm right down in here. I can't believe this isn't. I can't make, how can I make it bigger? On the right edge of the map's legend. Anyways. Yeah, whatever. But you can kind of get the idea here. We're just a crap ton of fires. I know it's probably really hard to see. I don't know. Yeah, I can't make the screen any bigger. Nope, it won't let me. So yeah, we're really on fire here in Idaho this year. This is insane. This is probably the worst fire season I've seen in years. I mean, usually we get a few fires here and there, but when I saw this morning, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. This is insane. I mean, there's just fires everywhere, all over Idaho, not just a couple here and there. There's fires everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, that's update for Idaho there. We're on fire. Absolutely, Jacqueline. This arson, a lot of it. What I was seeing this morning, that these fires, these are being man-made, started. Oh, Karen, yeah. Yeah, for those of you that hang your clothes outside, yeah, the smoke kind of gives your clothes a little bit of different fragrance, doesn't it, Karen? So, anywho, how's everybody doing out there? Right, Mark? 99% are man-made fires. Well, it used to be here in Idaho that, oh, I'm not actually screen sharing here. A lot of our fires were actually started by lightning, right? We would get them July thunderstorms, thunder and lightning, and we would have a few fires. I didn't realize we had that many fires this year until I saw that map this morning. That is insane. And like East Coast, they're getting the storms, tornadoes and hurricanes. So we're at war, folks. Good to see you, Genevieve. CC from Alaska. Crystal Mark out there on Facebook. And Greg, good to see you on Facebook. Right, Greg? For the past almost 10 years, the majority of fires in Canada, say that Greg's from Canada over here, but it's the same thing, right? Listen up. The patterns seem to always be fires in the areas that the government or corporations want to develop. Yeah. Well, like in Idaho, see, we have a lot of what's considered rural, outside of city limits. Rural areas, but they're trying to, run people out of the rural areas. They want us into the cities where local city police can have control, make their money, revenue. But like I keep saying, folks, it's up to us, the people, to claim and exercise our power, and we have to come together, peacefully assemble the people. Just come together. It's, I'm done with all the trying to, assembly, that stuff. We don't need to do anything. Just come together. Claim it. At this point, it doesn't matter. There's nothing that can stop us from coming together and doing what we need to do. No, Wendy, I didn't find that report on the junkyard fire there in Idaho. Here in Idaho, no, I didn't. But, yeah, it's, this, for the majority of this stuff, it's not going to just immediately go away. We, the people, have to come together. We have to stand together. We have to work together. It's our republic if we can keep it. And I get that there's some confusion about Trump and the military and the plan, right? The military is doing stuff. This is on the world stage, federal, world, the big stuff, right? It's up to us on a local level to take care of local level and state level stuff. All political power is inherent in the people. The people have the right to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time. But we need the majority of the people. I think the biggest problem here is comprehending, like what Trump was saying in his inauguration speech, that he was putting the power back into the hands of the people. Again, he's referring to the all political power. It's up to us to claim it, and exercise it. You know, in the last few weeks here, I've been reiterating this over and over and over again. Good to see you, James, out on YouTube. Yeah, it's strictly up to us. Yep, right. Warhorse for Liberty over here on Telegram says the two guys behind Trump at that speech, his inauguration speech in 2017 there, were military intelligence and judge advocate general. Symbolism. And actually, I believe there was actually 4 of them standing there. But, yeah, you know, this is the reality of what's really going on. We're at war. And if we can't comprehend that we're at war and what war actually means, we're going to have to fight. We have to, you know, Beastie Boys, we're going to have to fight for our rights. A little old school stuff here, you know. But it's up to us to fight. Up to us. And we have to learn how to tell on them. You know, it's almost like some of this stuff is manifesting because trying to wake the people up to get them to do something about it. Like Trump said, oh, somebody ought to sue these people. Hi, Jeremy, Michelle, and Yvonne. Good to see you. Right, Greg? You know, that's it's a tough thing, but it is I seeing more and more people, you know, grouping and stuff, but you know, people like even like Derek Gonzalez, Brandon Joe Williams, they don't talk about real law, and they're not talking about how to properly execute political power. None of them do. None of them know anything about it. None of them know about the right to petition. But good news over here. One of my patrons, Warhorse for Liberty over here, he's over here on Telegram right now, just sent me an email this morning saying that he finally got his case dismissed. Yay, his case was finally dismissed, and this is, you know, someone who's a patron over there, Patreon, learning from me, learning how to do the paperwork, filing the correct paperwork, and battling it out. Perseverance, and he has prevailed. Now, he was arrested, thrown in jail for 2 days. They had him, you know, they're same old, same old. Except for he had him hard with the proper paperwork. So, another win for one of my students. And yeah, seen the whole flock camera thing. But that's another thing that I was talking about. How it's like it's almost like they're purposely doing some of this stuff to get the people engaged to stand up to do something like, hey, this is unlawful. Here's a very good comment out here, and a common misconception. What's it? Eric Bitzer, 5247, out on YouTube. And this is this kind of same sentiments that I keep hearing lately is, I want to believe in Trump, but I keep seeing disasters like the war, and now Congress passes Israel military to be combined with ours. Okay, we're at war. This is war. This is not like your typical, soldiers from one side come onto the field and the soldiers from the other side, and we just that's totally different kind of war we're in right now. Seriously, huge. We've got the pedophiles, we got the money, we got the bankers, the deep staters, World Economic Forum, you got the World Health Organization. There's so many different parts going on all at the same time, war-wise. And one man, Trump, as commander-in-chief, is not going to be able to do all of this stuff by himself. And even if he were to take down on the world stage, which is predominantly what's happened, still going to need the people at the local city and state level, city, county, and state level to stand up. Okay? But here's the thing. Think about this differently than what everybody's thinking, that, oh, well, our military's joined with Israel military. What do you think that really means? Doesn't it mean that our military is working with them? What is our military doing? Okay. Ridding corruption worldwide. Executive Order 13818. Blocking the property of those involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption worldwide, which is about corrupt governmental regimes, taking them down, instituting new government, and doing a treaty of peace. All right, think about that for a minute. If our military is joining their military, and our military is taking down the corruption worldwide, and Israel is corrupt, that just means Israel's military is going to join our military in taking down the corruption. And biblically, Israel is last. Think about that. This is the final battle. Right? Ukraine, that's been going on for a while. That's where a bunch of biolabs were. Ukraine was a world hub for everything. Money laundering, arms laundering, human trafficking of men, women, and children for whatever purposes they could think of, including organ harvesting and all the sexual side, the satanic rituals, all of that stuff. Ukraine was the hub. Okay? Comprehend that Ukraine was the world hub. Most everything went through the Ukraine. That was their base, which, Clinton and Obama and all that stuff. And this is even before Obama. Okay, this stuff started in the early 90s when they took over the Ukraine. Okay, so if you can comprehend what I'm talking about as it being a world hub, that's one reason why Ukraine had to be taken down. And now Iran, for years, decades after decades, all the former presidents and other members of Congress even talk about how Iran needs to be taken down. Why is it any different now? But see, we got something even a little different there going on. It's called Islam. Yes, They're trying to take over. That's the one world government. The New World Order. Islam. That's what's really going on everywhere, right? Even here in America. CC, you've not heard of any lawful declaration of war? Executive Order 13818. There's your lawful executive order to execute the law. Well, absolutely, stuffology. Islam doesn't fit our text, history, or tradition. It's repugnant from the beginning. Yeah, it's the only religion out there that does not get along with any other religion. Imagine that. And for those that are not aware, Islam was actually created by the Roman Catholic Church. It's just another trickery. And if you really look into it, all it is a flip of the Bible. Their New Testament is how they got started. And then they switched to the Old Testament as their New Testament, right? It's backwards. And then it's a mirrored image of the Bible. And you know, that's their ideology and what they're going off of and what they're doing. And they're infiltrating and they're taking over, even in like Canada, or not, even Canada, but in United Kingdom, in England, right? This is part of this stuff. Part of the stuff of what's going on is they're taking down these corrupt governmental regimes that have been infiltrated by Islam. No, James, here on YouTube. Executive order is not corporate fiction lingo. The executive order is a commander-in-chief to execute the law. It's a military order. Military gives orders to execute the law. But that's what the military does. Military is part of the executive branch, right? Yeah, CC, I could care less whether you think it's a lawful declaration of war or not. I really could care less. That's the way things are, and that's what's happening, and it has been since December 20th of 2017. That's the executive order that's been taking down corrupt governmental regimes. And if you read the executive order, Saudi Arabia was listed in there. The members of governmental regime in Saudi Arabia is listed in that executive order. Those are the ones that were taken down first. They were Gitmoed, and Saudi Arabia was set free. There was a treaty of peace done with Saudi Arabia. That was the first one in 2017. Now, there's Quantum Kid out here. Here's his comment. He says, perhaps the Draco Stargates are in the Middle East, and the benevolent ally ET, extraterrestrial, Star War gates surround the Gulf of America. Planet War. It is. But that's on a much grander scale that most people, they can't even comprehend the basic concept of being at war with corrupt governmental regimes, let alone Star Wars, Stargates. And there is a Stargate in Iran. So, yeah, that's part of the other part of the stuff that's going on. And you are talking about nuclear weapons. I think that's the cover for the Stargates, especially in Iran. That's the nuclear weapon, is a Stargate, not as in nuclear weapons what we think of today. So, again, that's on a much larger scale, Quantum Kid, and you and I have talked about this. It's much bigger than most people can, and I say most people. There's a handful of people that could be open-minded enough to grasp this stuff and be okay with it. But I think generally speaking, probably like 80% of the general population is just not ready for that. I don't know if they'll ever be ready for that. But Eric out here on YouTube, I agree. It's not the Islamists that print the money and own all the corporations like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Berkshire Hathaway. I get it. But they're using the Islamic regime to take over governments. Who do you think's funding it? That's it, right? Yeah, thank you for your comments out here. Real Trump said, yeah, I'm ready to fix our nation called America. It's not a country, it's a nation. You know, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, right? One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Technically speaking, according to the law of nations, what we call individual states over here are the actual countries. Law of nations specifically states that a nation is composed of all of the countries. Why do we have independent flags? That's why we're a Confederate Republic. It's a confederacy. It's a league of friendship. It's a bunch of different countries coming together to form one nation. Absolutely, Real Trump said. Beg my pardon? Absolutely. Choice of words. And I've become a real stickler for proper diction, even though that most people out there don't. Wow. Here's a comment from somebody out here on YouTube. Liberty for all. My daughter and I witnessed a portal develop over my house, and a cigar UFO came out of the portal and flew away. So, you know, some people are seeing things. I've seen things in the sky. But yeah, no worries over there. Real Trump said, just finished 6 hours of interviews. Well, congratulations for you, and glad you're still here. You're here tonight. But it's up to us, folks. It's really it's up to us. Right, Warriors for Liberty. That Minnesota, right? Minnesota is a hot spot, their little hub. Somalians and Muslims than any other state. They have infiltrated big time, and researched once and found that every state is registered in Canada. I don't know what that is. I didn't know about that one, that it was registered in Canada, but yeah, here's somebody else. NorCal Vicious had a huge one the size of a football field, about 30 feet above my back, I think probably backyard, in 2024 at my work one night. Got it on video. So some people are seeing some stuff. Massachusetts is creating special councils for Muslims. Comment by Susan Sosta. Yeah. Yes, Eric. This is the real question. How do we get the people to actually assemble, to come together? Can somebody please answer that question for myself, because I will share the crap out of that answer. I mean, it is difficult to get the people to come together and then learn the law on what to do. We have strength in numbers. It's always been that way. So I just, man, I am definitely open for suggestions out here right now for the answer to that question. How to get the people actually to assemble. Yeah. Yeah, Wars for Liberty. I've had a couple of people talk about getting me on with Joe Rogan. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd go on there just to go on, but Yeah, the whole petition process. Yeah, yeah. So, uh, here's a comment. Sunfish87 out here on YouTube. Throughout history, people assembled for a clear and concise motive. So, yeah, stuffology. I'm not talking about the assembly stuff. I'm talking about the people coming together. I'm not talking about doing any of that fancy crap and trying to do paperwork and doing all that stuff to claim that they're the legitimate government. All political power is inherent in the people. We don't need to do anything. We just need to come together and say, hey, we've had enough of this crap and we're taking it down. And right now, the remedy that's been provided by our commander-in-chief, to quote from Texas v. White, pursuant to Article 4, Section 4 about domestic violence, which is internal insurrection, an attempt to overthrow the Constitution and war against the people. Again, we are at war. Where's their declaration of war against us, CC? I don't see any lawful declaration of war from the corrupt against the people. But that's why it's called domestic violence in Article 4, Section 4. This is a response to that. And in Texas v. White, it specifically says that the president, only acting as commander-in-chief, has the authority, lawful authority, to set up provisional government pending the outcome of the war. Now, this provisional government pending the outcome of the war, Executive Order 14288, sending the military to the states to eradicate all crime. And Section 5 of that executive order is aimed at public servants who are corrupt. But we, the people, have to tell on them. And in that executive order, it says that the attorney generals of the state are to take our public corruption complaints. That is the provisional government. Because otherwise, we would normally petition the legislature for the redress of grievances, or we would do our own grand jury presentments, which we can still do those. But that's what I'm talking about, is assembling the people, not as in an assembly. I'm talking about people just coming together in a room, sitting down, looking at some evidence, and doing what's called a presentment. Read the Fifth Amendment. Okay? It's a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. The grand jury is the pool of the people. And all we have to do, at a minimum, was it 12 or 14 people in one room to do a grand jury presentment. So Real Trump said, you said that you've reported to. This is the thing. Show me your legitimate petition to the legislature for the redress of grievances. Okay? And you've gone to the governor. It's not the governor. It's the attorney general. And you've gone to the legislators. A proper form of a petition isn't talking to somebody that's in the legislative branch. No, Stuffology. No. We don't have to do anything like that crap. So that's what I'm trying to get at. Let's keep it simple. Let's just do the people. Let's come together. Let's go into a room and say, hey, we know that so-and-so is involved in this, blah, 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 blah. And be done. Okay? I don't care if you think it's indefeasible or not. We can't even get 10 people of the people to come together to even discuss this. But I'm working on it. I've got a few people that are willing to come together. I'm getting there with something. And let me clarify for people out there who not quite comprehend petitioning the legislature, in this instance to Congress, which is how E-Clause got started. And what happened? Okay? In that petition that went to Congress in 2017, challenging the bars of monopoly, and he cannot license the practice of law, and reporting on the judicial corruption. First, the woman that was in that part of that petition was from Utah. She got her house back, she got her kids back. The other gentleman that was in that petition to Congress was out of Ector County, Texas. The entire magistrate division of family court in Ector County, Texas was abolished. Bulk transfer of over 1,250 cases to the district court, scheduled for dismissal. That was February of 2018. In that bulk transfer, in the order of transfer, there was an order put out that they were to show up by December of 2018, or their cases would be dismissed, and be prepared to argue their case. Now, that was because of a petition to Congress. So don't tell me that it doesn't work, because it does. So those are some big things that happened there in 2017. Can you imagine if we were to come together and do a petition to Congress today? Because what does Article 4, Section 4 say again? What does it read? Because reading means reading. And if we can read this, and we can comprehend this, we can comprehend what I just told you, what happened with that petition in 2017. The United States shall guarantee every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence. That is exactly how we did it, and how and why it happened. Because we followed due process of law and went to the legislative branch like our right dictates that process. Because that's the law, supreme law of the land. And that is their duties to perform. And because we're at war, and because of the current situation, where does it actually end up? What do you mean the executive? Article 4, Section 4, that's the commander-in-chief, that's the military. Congress is the one that's been delegated the power to protect us from domestic violence. This is due process of law. Our rights and the supreme law of the land dictate this process. Wake up, follow it. Let's follow the law. Real Trump said, but we have rogue state and local governments. Exactly, that's who we need to tell on. That's the whole point of coming together and saying, we have corrupt government officials in our local area. Send the military in and take them out. That is actual domestic violence, pursuant to Article 4, Section 4. That's what that means. Internal insurrection, an attempt to overthrow the Constitution and war against the people. We've all been led to believe that domestic violence is about domestic relations. It's not. That's the Violence Against Women and Children Act, to subvert what real domestic violence is. But, and Real Trump said, they're so corrupt they scoff at the law. Not all of them. And stop using that as an excuse not to follow, claim and exercise our rights and follow due process of law. Right, Karen? The Ninth Amendment, the enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. But this is what the law says. Can anybody show me the law to the contrary that would actually be higher standing than the supreme law of the land? No, you can't. It's time we, the people, learn what our rights are, that we learn due process of the law of the land. Not code, Roman civil law. The actual law. Because law of the land is actually the common law of the land. So, this is what needs to be done. And again, we've already done it. We've had great success. And that's exactly it. We need people to come together to sign a petition to Congress, which will basically end up in Trump's, in the military's hands, saying we have massive corruption here. Or we can come together. You know, I'm working with some people up north right now, trying to get them to come together, fill out public corruption complaints sent to the Attorney General, which the military is sitting there behind the state Attorney General, waiting for us to file these public corruption complaints. And why do you think Trump's been talking about the, what? The Insurrection Act? You know, people don't pay attention here, but you need to pay attention because that's what's really going on. Uh-oh, did they get rid of all the rest of that? Oh, man. Uh-huh. Well, I see they've been in here editing this, huh? Okay, here's part of still what's in here about the guarantee clause. Wasn't talking about the okay. Through its terms, the United States makes 3 related assurances to the states: a guaranteed Republican form of government, protection against foreign invasion, and 3, upon request by the state, protection against internal insurrection or rebellion. An earlier version of the guarantee law was among, the resolution of Virginia Plan, introduced the Constitutional Convention by Edmund Randolph, attributed to James Madison. The resolution went through several formulations during the debates at the convention. During a key debate, Governor Morris objected to the resolution because he should be very unwilling that such laws as exist in Rhode Island ought to be guaranteed. Randolph explained that rather than cementing the existing laws of the states, the resolution had 2 objects: to secure Republican government and to suppress domestic commotions. Along with concerns about rebellions, delegates expressed fears that a monarchy might arise in a particular state and establish a tyranny over the whole United States. That whole domestic violence part of Article 4, Section 4 is right there. Now, again, this is where we're at. They've altered the fundamental law from common law to Roman civil law, the code. Back to monarchy, the Roman civil law. Mark, what book did we read the code be in Roman civil law in? That would be Bouvet's Law Dictionary, 1856, as well as Blackstone's Commentaries on the Laws of England. Blackstone elucidates the different jurisdictions of fundamental law: Roman civil law, feudal law, and common law. Those are your 3 bodies of jurisdictions of law as fundamental law. So, yeah. Bouvet's Law Dictionary, 1856. Law, civil. Code is Roman civil law. So, United States Code, that's Roman civil law. Code of Federal Regulations, that's Roman civil law. Idaho Code, that's Roman civil law. Now, I have discovered in the Idaho legislative session laws, in the 11th legislative session for the Territory of Idaho in 1881, the Code of Civil Procedure Act. And the 3rd section of that act says that the rule of the common law, the statutes and derogation thereof must be in strict compliance, does not apply here, and the code is the law. That's the violation of Article 4, Section 4. That's domestic violence. That's turning us back into a monarchy. That's erecting a multitude of new offices, sending hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out our substance, enforcing bills of attainder and bills of pains and penalties. Are we not seeing the repeat of history here, folks? It's the same thing. Exactly. It's the same exact garbage. Idaho Code. Code. How about Uniform Commercial Code? And Eric, you're going to be surprised at this. I hear on YouTube. Bills of Rights are actually for kings. Alexander Hamilton in Federalist 82 or 84 there made the argument against a Bill of Rights because Bills of Rights are for kings. We do Declaration of Rights. We lay down the law. But the common law was already declared as our fundamental law. And in the Declaration of Independence, it's a declared act of tyranny to subject us to any jurisdiction that's foreign to our Constitution, unacknowledged by our law, and given his assent to their pretended acts of legislation. Right? Let these the history of the present King of Great Britain, this is Declaration of Independence, repeated injuries and usurpations, all have in direct object the establishment of absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. These are all declarations of tyranny. Where was it? Right here. He's erected multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. This was the history of the policy officer, which was created by the king in early 1700s because the king found out his men, he didn't have enough men to protect the realm. So he created the policy. It's not police, it's policy officers at the docks to regulate commerce. But here it is. He is combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, given his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. What are they talking about here? What jurisdictions foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws? That would be the Roman civil law, the code. So that's the real problem here, folks. They've hijacked our form of government. We're no longer a republican form of government. They've turned us back into a monarchy and established the same exact tyranny over the whole United States of America. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit here and bitch and moan about it, or are we going to peaceably assemble and consult for our common good and do something about it? Are we going to follow the law? Are we going to claim and exercise our rights? You know, when are we going to actually take some action here? And the action has to start with the people coming together. Oh, that's real. Trump said, we're too fat and lazy and sick to do anything. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I just turned 55 and I'm still in pretty damn good shape. This day and age, I put most 30-year-olds to shame. But, well, Kimberly out on YouTube, it's way more than just not participating. It's time to take action. We need to tell on these people. No, Mark, I found our Idaho admission to the Union. Albeit still um, under the corporation, right? Anyone after 1871. But see here, answering Morse's, Madison moved to substitute language that the constitutional authority of the states shall be guaranteed to them respectively against domestic as well as foreign violence. See, they're talking about the public servants. Why does it keep doing that? In light of its text and framing, the guaranteeing clause is intended to be more than an authorization for the federal government to protect states against foreign invasion or internal insurrection, a power already conferred elsewhere in the Constitution. While the precise contours of what constitutes a Republican form of government are debatable, an additional object of the guarantee clause is to prevent states from establishing a monarchical or despotic governments. And it's a despotic government. In reading Montesquieu and his Spirit of Laws, that's the other form of a government, is a despotic government. And here's the real kicker, the whole missing key. Virtue, morality. You cannot have a good government without virtue. Now, listen to this next part here, pursuant to Article 4, Section 4. Except for a brief period during Reconstruction, so I could care less about Reconstruction, the authority granted by the Guarantee Clause has been largely unexplored. The Supreme Court and other federal courts have largely declined to hear legal challenges based on the Guarantee Clause because they present non-justiciable political questions. This is a political argument, not a judicial one. The judicial branch does not have jurisdiction. Article 4, Section 4 is very clear. It's either the legislative branch or the executive. There is no need to go to the judicial branch. They don't have jurisdiction. None. Now, again, I noticed that they cut out the Luther versus Borden and they cut out the Texas v. White. And it's funny because this just goes to show that there's some people out there watching my shows that are trying to keep the truth away from the people because they've edited the crap out of this. And for those of you that, especially over here on Telegram through Patreon, who've been following me for a while, we've talked about this sections, and I've showed it on the show before. Texas v. White and Luther versus Borden are gone. They've edited this so bad, and you can't even use the Wayback Machine. That was when the Wayback Machine went down, remember? They scrubbed all of that stuff prior to 2023. The way things were before 2023, it's all gone. They scrubbed it all. They're really, really trying to hide this stuff. And as far as I know, I'm the only one that's been doing anything like this, going back through the history and all that stuff. I don't know, maybe. Oh no, okay, here's the Luther versus Borden. A rise to the Guarantee Clause is generally a political and not a judicial in character. Da-da-da-da. Where's the Texas v. White one? So here's where we're at. Listen to this, folks. Lawful government. The defendants in Luther justified their breaking and entering into a plaintiff's home under a declaration of martial law and based on the plaintiff's alleged participation in insurrection. The plaintiff questioned the authority and Republican character of the state government, alleging the defendants to be the insurrectionists. Thus, to adjudicate the trespass claim in Luther was in effect to decide which of the two rival governments was the legitimate government of Rhode Island. Chief Justice Roger Taney held that the political branches of government and not the federal courts should decide such questions. It rests with Congress to decide what government is the established one in a state, as well as the Republican character. It's not up to the judicial branch. Luther further held that it rested with Congress to determine the proper means to fulfill the guarantee of protection to the states against insurrection. Well, the Constitution's very clear. Right here. Congress instead authorized the President to call out the militia in the case of insurrection against a state's government. It followed, reasoned Chief Taney, that the President must of necessity decide which is the government and which party is unlawfully should be afraid against before he can perform the duty imposed upon him by the act of Congress. This political determination is not subject to judicial review. During Reconstruction, the court in Texas v. White posited that presidents' actions in establishing temporary state governments in the defeated Confederate states at the end of the Civil War was justified as an exercise of his powers as Commander-in-Chief. Well, they reworded that one a little bit. But there it is. That's what's happening right now, folks. Okay? So now, hopefully people out there tonight, and anyone who watches this later, this right here is what real domestic violence is. And the judicial branch does not have any authority over this. This is real law, folks. Why do you think they're talking about the Insurrection Act? Why is it that Trump sent the military to the states to eradicate all crime? Which reaches right into the public servants. Why do you think that's happening? Because that is his duty to perform. So, Trump is just doing what happened in history back then, and the court's already ruled on and determined that yes, the president as commander-in-chief has this power. And it's up to him to determine. Right? Not up to the judicial branch. It's not even really up to Congress. It's up to Congress to determine if there is, but that's why they already created the Insurrection Act. The real statutes over there. Now, you might find it in the code now, but the real Insurrection Act was done long before. But this is what we're reading right here is what Article 4, Section 4 means. So this is what I'm saying. When we petition Congress, it's going to go to the executive. And hell, if we can get the people together, I've got a few here in Idaho, and we're gonna do something. I'm gonna do a petition. We're gonna send it to Congress, and we're gonna send it to the executive, the Attorney General, or Attorney General, but the President. Why not? I mean, that's his power. Properly belongs to the President. So, this is what needs to be done in every state on a local level. We're here right now. There's a few people here. So, I guess that, leaders lead by example. And the thing is, we've already done this, and I've tried to explain to you folks that that's what happens. Yep. So, unless somebody can show me the law contrary to what I just showed, which you can't, we need to be following this process. Because that's the real law. I mean, First Amendment. Assembly and petition. The right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment. I mean, come on. Claim an exercise of our rights here. No, stuffology. The right says it is a petition. Comment out here. You don't petition Congress, you instruct them. You have no clue about the right of petition, do you? That's like, we don't do motions, we make demands. You don't know the proper format of a motion. No, stuffology. The word right to petition. Petition is when you're petitioning the judicial branch, that's a lawsuit. Well, this is a political lawsuit. And yes, we most certainly instruct our representatives to discharge the duties of their office. Absolutely. In fact, in Idaho's Declaration of Rights, that's the exact verbiage. Article 1, Section 10, right of assembly. The people shall have the right to assemble in a peaceable manner, to consult for their common good, to instruct their representatives, and to petition the legislature for the redress of grievances. How are you going to instruct them if you don't petition them? If you don't file the political lawsuit, how are you going to speak? Our right dictates this process. Just because you don't comprehend what a petition is and how that process works doesn't change the fact that this is the letter of the law, our right being declared, laying down the law of how this process works. That is the process that is due, as in due process of law, which is synonymous with the law of the land. Law of the land and due process of law are synonymous. They mean the same thing. So, this is what we need to do. But, you know, I can only lead a horse to the water. I can't force the horse to drink. Well, Stuffology, go ahead and go live anytime. Start teaching. You think you know what you're doing and what you're talking about. I can tell you right now you don't. Because I've studied the law, I've shared the law, and we've done it. So, no, petition. Okay, Susan Sosna on YouTube. But petition sounds like asking, begging. No, it's a political lawsuit. That's how we instruct them. That's how we make our demands. It's called a prayer for relief. Again, people don't comprehend the proper form. Oh, that's Streamlabs. Here's the one I did for internal insurrection. No, this is for foreign invasion in proper form. Okay? Here's the statement of facts. There is a foreign invasion happening on the southern border between Mexico. Okay? Short, clear, and concise statements of facts. 1, 2, 3. Prayer for relief. Wherefore the petitioner and undersigned demand the following relief and hereby instruct our public servants to discharge their duties as instructed by the people. Please do not tell me that filing a petition is not demanding and instructing them. It most certainly is, moron. Frickin' learn the law. And then what are we instructing them to do? Follow the law. Declare war pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 for a foreign invasion. To call forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union. Suppress insurrections. Repel invasions pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15. I'm citing nothing but supreme law of the land. No code. No statute. Pay attention. Learn the law. Read. Like I just said, where does this go? This goes through Article 4, Section 4. No presumptions here. These are facts. This is the letter of the law. What it says as it is written. No presumptions. Sorry. But this is what I'm saying, folks. You know, got a lot of naysayers out there, people who talk crap, think they know what they're talking about, and they don't. And it's very clear that they don't. And I can tell that they don't when they start making comments like, oh, we make demands and we're supposed to instruct them, and we don't do motions, or we don't do petitions. Yeah, okay. Petition is the format, the document. Right, Mark? You don't protest government by hitting the streets. That's not even a protest. A protest is a remonstrance, a formal written protest against legislation being made. But, yeah, picketing out there in the streets, picketing, some people call it protesting, but that doesn't really do much of anything, does it? But this is what we've been, you know, Chris and John Gentry and myself, this is what we were working on back in 2017. Yeah. Well, again, stuffology out there, already done this. Had relief. Okay? So I could care less what you think out there. Right, Art? Good to see you, Art. Let's not forget the deluded U.S. citizens who think a petition is a long piece of paper with a bunch of names on it. I feel so sorry for you. The level of willful ignorance is incredible. It is. You know, I mean, short, clear, concise statement of facts. Who did what, where, and when. Or in this case, what the heck is really going on here? That's a proper format of a petition. Real short, 2 pages, signed by me, notarized. Right, and even throw some fancy stuff in there. Okay? Oh, you notice you do not let people go live. I don't stop you from going live. You can go live on your own channel on your own time. I have nothing to do with that. You're free to do whatever you want to do. Feel free to go live anytime you want. Well, Susan, again, you do not understand what the prayer for relief really is. That's common law. Because remember, laws of nature here. God is the sovereign. God's the creator of all things. Who are we actually praying to? The prayer for relief is to God. That we convict the man's mind, men who read whatever it is, a motion, a petition, anything where there's a prayer for relief, is where you make your demands. But you're praying to God to convict the man's mind when he reads your statement of facts and sees your evidence, that God convicts his mind to grant you the relief that you've demanded. And do you have the right to demand that relief? You know, let's look at it this way. Okay? Your neighbor burns your fence down or runs into your fence and causes $800 damage to your fence, but you want to go into court and you want to demand $20,000. You don't have the right to demand $20,000. So your case would get dismissed for failure to state a claim for which relief can be granted, because the judge can't grant you $20,000 relief as you demanded in your prayer for relief, because that would be an unjust enrichment. That's not the actual damages. But that's what prayer for relief means. This is in the spiritual realm. This is common law. There's a reason why these are formatted in this particular way. Again, knowledge is power. How come we don't know this? Why am I out here having to teach the people about our rights, what our rights already dictate? You know, I mean, this stuff's in writing. Anybody can frickin' read it. And at today's day and age, this stuff is in our frickin' fingertips. We're carrying around a cell phone, a smartphone, which sometimes our phones ain't that smart, are they? But I'm happy to do this, right? I feel that God has called me to do this for a reason, and that's why I'm here. Because knowledge is power, and without this knowledge, we have no power. Just like Susan, you're saying that you'd never seen this before; you didn't know anything about it. And you're welcome, Susan. Oh, good old Mark Vaughn over here. He searches with gloves on, right? Yeah, them boxing gloves. Thank you for your comment over here, Freedom Fighter. Right, Ralph? The good thing about doing a petition is you're not in a court setting and you're not guilty. Yeah. Right, Quantum Kid, that petitions not responded to was a cause for the Declaration of Independence and the Revolutionary War. I believe the military may be helping this cause now. Yes. In the history of that, the petition actually never made it to the king. They buried it in some papers and hid it. Hey, Stuffology, why don't you just go do your own live and do your own thing? I just showed the letter of the law, and you're trying to say that it's not the truth. So kick rocks, go do your own thing. Not interested. But, you know, teach their own. And this is why we can't bring people together, is because you got people out there who willfully ignore the truth as it's been presented to them in their face, the letter of the law as it is written, and they still can't comprehend it. They want to argue against it. But then there are some people who go, holy crap, I didn't know that. Those are the men of sound mind who will change their mind with new information. Because, reading means reading. Right, Quantum Kid? If ignorance is bliss, we should be very happy. Yeah, we should, shouldn't we? Am I a student of David Jose? No. I'm not a student of anybody other than the student of God, and I'm the one that does the actual reading. I read the actual letter of law for myself. This is what I've done since 1995. I've been doing my own studying, done my own research, my own reading. Aside from that, David Jose was actually learning from us back in the day. Of course, David Jose will not admit that today, but I most certainly have some videos where we had him on with Chris and I, and we were educating him. But he's another stubborn one out there that doesn't do this process. He doesn't claim and exercise the right of petition. He's a smooth talker, but doesn't follow the law. Right? Quantum Kid, you're going to teach young children to petition their parents and teachers and get the ball rolling. There we go. You have a grievance. That grievance has got to go in the form of a petition to the legislative branch of government. And then if the legislative branch doesn't take action, it goes to the executive branch. This is not a judicial argument. This is a political lawsuit, not a judicial one. When we're talking about internal insurrection, domestic violence, an attempt to overthrow the Constitution, and war against the people, that's what this part of our Republican form of government is set up to do. Now, if we do that and nothing happens, we have every right to take up arms and defend and take back our republic. Even Blackstone, in his commentaries on the laws of England, specifically says, for a vindication of these rights from the laws of nature, that body of law known as the laws of nature, is we're to petition the government. And when those petitions are not, we don't get the relief that we're demanding, that's the end result. We have the right to keep and bear arms, which shall not be infringed. And the Supreme Court of the United States of America is making it very clear. Thank you for your comment over here, Pink Gun Spooty. And I agree, Diesel D's. Yes, Mark, good comment over here about Hamilton, that you linked Hamilton from the first bankruptcy in 1791 to the 1933 New Deal Act. Yep. Remember, Hamilton was the one that was pushing for the international banking, for the international banking cartel back then. And originally, for the first time he tried to push it, it was shut down. Yeah. But, you know, folks, knowledge is power. My people shall perish for lack of knowledge. If we don't have this knowledge, we have no power. So, you know, when the law says all political power is inherent in the people, do we even know what that means? Political power, it's a political lawsuit. The right to petition the legislature is a political issue. We just read that. Right? Luther versus Borden. It's a political argument. Political power is exercised in the legislative and then through the executive. It is executed through the militia. Thank you, Jacqueline, for your comment out here on Rumble. Keep coming. Keep hanging out, folks. Hopefully that will sink in, you know. Repetition is the key. And some days it's harder for me because it's like I feel like I'm just talking till I'm blue in the face, but I have actually a couple different people that tell me the same thing, you know, repetition. People need repetition. Art, Diesel D's, we've had some pretty in-depth conversations. Art, you and I've had some pretty in-depth conversations. Quantum Kid, you and I've had some pretty extravagant, in-depth conversations. And that's what it boils down to, folks. We have to read this stuff. We have to rehear it, reread it over and over and over and over and over again. But at some point in time, we're going to have to take action. You're welcome, Karen. Freedom fighter, yep, absolutely. We've all been brainwashed, and that's what I would say. We've all been brainwashed and indoctrinated, and that's part of, you know, the problem that I was having is like, and where my anger would flare up is it's like, you know, like talking to a judge or a police officer or whatever, you know, and they're just not getting it. And I would get upset and I would get mad, which is in a way what they want you to do. They want you to get all upset so they can just dismiss you. But let me tell you, God gave me a change of heart and said, he told me, he said, look, we're supposed to have compassion for our fellow man. I'm like, yeah, right. We've all been brainwashed and indoctrinated. We've all been lied to. We've all been taught wrong. Okay? Some of us, like me, have slipped through the cracks where I'm like, wait, no, that doesn't seem right. That's not right. You know, I learned at a very young age of how corrupt police, the courts, the whole system, everything's corrupt. At 14 years old, when my family got ripped apart, I got thrown, you know, in foster care. CPS kidnapped me and threw me into foster care and kept me from my mom. I experienced it firsthand. You know, the Eva Jackson, my caseworker, telling me that, you know, if your mom loved you, you'd be back home by now. Yeah. Trust me, I know how corrupt they are. So, you know, I was the child in 1985 that experienced the corruption. So that's part of how I slipped through the cracks. But the fact is that having that compassion for our fellow man, I'll just speak for myself, that realizing that, you know, in my logical mind, I have to rationalize this. How do I control my anger here with this, right? Coping mechanism type stuff. But I've got to be able to rationalize it because my mind is so logical, very logical. And so, we've all been lied to. Okay, if we've all been lied to, that includes the police. That includes the attorneys. That includes the judges. We've all been lied to. They've all been lied to. Everybody. Nobody really knows the truth. Nobody knows the real law until we bring it forth. And so that's how God softened my heart and my rationalization, how I had to rationalize all this stuff to ease my own anger. And so, like, even tonight, you heard my voice rise up. That's my passion. The passion for the truth, the law, and for the people to follow and claim our rights and follow the law. That's my passion, because now I know. I've experienced it. I know. So I'm speaking from experience, not just talking out my rear end here. And I'm showing you the letter of the law as it is written. There's no logical dispute to what the letter of the law says as it is written. Oh, yes, yeah. Here's a good example. Art just made this comment out here on YouTube. The proof that you're correct was corroborated by a judge here in Haywood County when she straightened out the state legislator who didn't think people could petition the state legislators directly. That's right. I sent her the letter. Oh, I did the video. I did a short video on the right to petition. And Lex Parliamentary Americana and Mason's Manual Legislative Procedure, citing both of those, the actual letter of the law, because Lex Parliamentary Americana is actually elements of the law and practice of the legislative assemblies in the United States of America. That's the law, Lex Parliamentary Americana, that says we have the right to petition. It lays out the history of the right. It lays out the format of a petition, all of the elements of a petition, and the distinction between a petition and a remonstrance. It lays out the proper format, the real law. And then it says that the petitioners have the right to present their own petitions. Even Mason's Manual Legislative Procedure says the same exact thing. But the senator over there in South Carolina tried to say that, no, you don't have a right to present your own petition. And so I did that video showing the letter of the law as it is written, sent that over there to that judge, and she forwarded that video over to that state senator, And after 2 weeks, I finally got around to it and came back and said, what can I do for you? You've got a grievance over there? What can I do? What do you need me to do? There's proof right there, folks. It works. Knowledge is power. Change that man's attitude, his whole tone, and the way he was treating a judge, no less. Like I said, Art and I have had some pretty lengthy conversations about many different things over there, but and I appreciate you, Art. I do. Right, Mark? The intent of the law, they want to try to tell us what the intent is. And they're full of bovine feces. Oh, welcome, Fix It Fast. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for your recent donation over there at Buy Me a Coffee. If you'd like to help support out over here, links in the description there on Rumble, and should be on Facebook and everything else. X, YouTube, should be in the description there. Thank you for your comments over here, Kathy, Freedom Fighter, Wendy, Diesel D's. Yeah, we'll see you Wednesday night, brother. And for those over there that want to get in on this, Wednesday night workshop, that's tier 3 through my Patreon. Link is on the website, kirkslawcorner.com, down in the description as well, a link to Patreon. If you're looking for one-on-one stuff, want some education, knowledge, that's one-on-one times over there is tier 4 through Patreon, folks. Thank you, Jacqueline, as well. Much love. God bless you as well. Much appreciated. All of your comments out here. I really appreciate your comments and your feedback. And hopefully the trolls learn. And maybe they're just here to troll. I don't know. But nonetheless, it rises my passion for the truth. And I will fight for the truth till the day I die. I guarantee you. That's just the way I've been my whole life. I stand up for the weak. I defend the weak. Stand for truth. And I fight for the truth. And at this point, I'm fighting for America. And if you're not with me, you're against me. And that's why I keep saying, who's with me? And I'm seeing some of the people who are with me. And I thank you all. God bless you all. Have a wonderful night. And those of you that are with me are over there on Wednesday night workshop. Much love. And we'll see you Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.